Good to be back in. I had the off week last week. Just like to start by saying, thanks to our fans, and we had a great atmosphere. I think we wrapped up the conference against UT Martin in a home game, and students showed back up. Is out of school, all week for Thanksgiving, but they came back or stayed in town for the game. So thought we had a great game day. That day, and our team, played well and wrapped up our third straight conference championship, and just it was good to get to bye last week. Kind of catch your breath. Had good practices. I thought we had a very, very productive week to keep game speed. And then, moving on into the playoffs, I think it's big when you can not play that first round game and, get to bye week and play at home in the second round. So that was huge for, I think, our team. And, as this moving forward this week into the playoffs, I think everybody, and our team understands that. Everybody raises their level when it comes playoff time. And it's all about how you play. And, we got a great opponent coming in here at Youngstown, and Coach Pelini's done a great job up there. I think they've been on an 11-year drought, as far as making the playoffs. So to get them turned around and get them in the playoffs in his second year was, I think, huge. They're a well-coached football team coming out of, a very tough conference and probably the best conference in the country. And, to finish, runner-up really in that conference after North Dakota State and South Dakota State kind of split the title there. But Youngstown is was in every game. They got a solid football team. They're well coached. They're technicians. They block and tackle very well. Defensively, they're dynamic. Two dynamic defensive ends, very good up front. Like I said, the thing that impresses you about them is they're a fundamental football team. Like I said, it goes back to they block and tackle very well. Offensively, they like to run the ball. They're balanced. They lost their quarterback kind of halfway through the year, and the two they got playing quarterback, manage the game very well. They don't think it's impressive there. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They got two running backs that are really, really dynamic, and good hard-nosed runners, and then offensively, their offensive line's really good. So, we don't expect anything less. The last 2 years we've gotten a bye. We played in the second round. We played two great football teams. 2 years ago it was, the Southlands, conference championship game was Sam Houston and Southeastern Louisiana. So you knew you had the winner of that game was going to be a great team coming in here. And, we didn't play our best, and got beat by a really good team, Sam Houston team. And then last year we get to play, Chattanooga, who probably, it was both of those games should have been probably, just like this year's game, probably should be a quarterfinal, semifinal matchup. That's how good the opponent is coming in. And getting Chattanooga, they lost to Mercer, I think, during the regular season and kind of stumped their toe. So they lost one of the top 8 seeds and had to play in the first round. So you got a great Chattanooga team coming in here last year. So Youngstown coming in this year, we're kind of used to, whoever you get is going to be a very, very good football team. And I think Youngstown is as good as the last two we played, maybe even better. So it's really, same as regular season we talk about it. We know we're going to play good folks, week in, week out. It's really about how we play. And this game will come down to, us taking care of the football and scoring in the red zone and being good on third downs and defensively, being able to limit their rushing attack and trying to create some turnovers and being great on third downs like we've been all year and being good in the red zone. So it's going to be a good football game. It's like I said, I'm looking forward to playing in front of our crowd at home again this week.
Coach Cross, your team, especially this year, has been very good about just kind of taking it week by week, not looking too far down the road. Why do you think that is? What is it about this group that's made it good in that regard?
I think it's how we approach the game, and they're a mature team. They kind of been there, done that. They know what happens to you when you look ahead, and I think we're more locked in on the preparation and how we play. We took a couple of days off over Thanksgiving, and I think I don't have to say it. We got back out there, and you get a little rusty after a couple of days off. You need to practice. So I think think they enjoy practicing because they know what practicing, does for them. And that's how you get good at something is you rep it. And I think they enjoy the process of practicing and preparing. And you can't look at, who you're playing and what the opponent's like. And I think it's stay very focused on us and how we approach the game and how we prepare for the game. So I think that's the reason why we play consistently and, we don't get caught looking ahead. And definitely at this point in time in the year, it's you look ahead, you'll be taking up equipment on Monday. It's do or die situation. So the games you can't have a letdown for sure. You got to play your very, very best because, like I said, when you get in the playoffs, the 24 teams that made it, they wasn't a bad team that made it. Now we've halved that. So it's you're sitting there and you got to play well to give yourself a chance to win, and they know how important it is to perform on Saturday at our highest level. To give herself a chance. So I think that's why we're so consistent in that because we've learned that lesson before.
Was that a lesson learned 2 years ago?
I think so. I think you point back to the, and even the year before that, or during conference play when you didn't play well on the road or you didn't play well at home against the team, and I think we just proved ourselves that it's all about how we play, and that we can be as good as anybody and they beat anybody if we play our very, very best. Now, when you don't play your best, you got a good chance of getting beat. And like I said, I think our guys have, these guys have been playing ball a long time. They know that, and it's a veteran crew, so they don't let any of our. Now I think you can ask kind of Marlon at the end. He's a redshirt freshman. But he knows our culture. He knows the way we prepare. He knows the way we believe, and our guys are bought into doing that. Because you got Darius been playing for 3 years now, and Eli and JB's been playing for 4, and they like I said, they've been there, done that, and they've learned from experience how important it is to play our very best. And I think they very much believe that we play our best. We got a great chance of winning any game we play in.
Eli and Josh, could you two talk about that, about the ability of this team not to look too far ahead and like Coach Gross says, being very consistent from week to week?
Yeah, Coach, like I said all the time, Coach Gross, he put in our head that, it's all about the preparation. It's all about, looking at the game we got Saturday, not looking who we got next week. And if we, focus on who is our opponent Saturday, we'll be okay. And everybody understand that. I don't think there's nobody on our team that like he said, Marlon, he's a freshman. Well, he's a redshirt freshman. He's been here 2 years, but he understands. He knows how we do things around here, and just like the freshman that's not playing that's on scout team, they understand. They understand that they got a part in this too, and they don't look ahead. They focus on what they got to do to help us prepare for Saturday, and that's what's making us so good.
Like what he said, it's like what Coach Gross said as well. If we focus on, the next opponent, then, we're going to be taking up equipment. And like you said, 2 years ago, Sam Houston, that was probably the most disgusting feeling I've ever felt, just because I know as a player too, I really wasn't looking at Sam Houston. I was looking forward, just excited about, where this team was going to go instead of focusing on going 1-0. And, we end up taking up equipment. So, if we focus on Youngstown this week and do what we have to do, I feel pretty good about our chances.
Thanks, guys.
John, you look at their roster, look at the offensive line, 330, 350, 300, 310, 305.
They're well fed. They're well fed. They are big. They're a big football team, O-line, D-line wise, and and we are too. It's going to be a great matchup, I think, in the trenches. From an offensive line perspective and a defensive line perspective. So I think it's going to be a war in the trenches, and they like to play like we like to play. They like to play physical. So it's going to be a very physical football game, and it's going to be a fun game. They got a great team, and it's a good matchup, and you would expect nothing less in a second-round game. And like I said, I think our guys are looking forward to it, and I think it goes back to what Mark was asking. I mean, the elephant in his room is you want to win a national championship. Well, this is the obstacle in our way. We got to beat Youngstown this week. We got to play at a high level, and we got to play good because you got a great football team coming in here. And really, that goes back to, when we play in our conference, we play out of our conference. We played a tough non-conference schedule this year, and I think our guys know that it's about how we play and how we perform. So we got to perform at a very high level, to have a chance to win on Saturday and give ourselves a good opportunity.
Is that the biggest line you've seen?
Probably not any bigger than LSU's for sure, but I mean, probably outside of LSU, I would say yes. I mean, they're big up front, and D-line's big too. They're equally as big there.
DJ, when you see a line with that size, is that good or bad? I mean, you figure maybe you got a quickness edge, or
having big old linemen is definitely a quickness edge, but you cut the legs from under the elephant, he gonna fall, so it is what it is. Our defensive line, we love playing physical games because it get to show what we can do, and we're really gonna free up our linebackers to make plenty of plays.
John, in terms of this game, there's no mistake that Bo likes to run the ball, and that kind of runs right into how you guys defend the ball. So how do you coach up basically will against will?
Well, I mean, I think it is, they're definitely a time of possession team. They lost their quarterback, through the regular season. I think that kind of changed them. Now, the two guys that's come in and played in place of the starter have done a really good job, I think, of managing the game, and, they take care of the football, protect the ball, but they're way up there in time of possession, and running the football. So they do definitely want to, run the football. They're averaging 2-something, rushing the ball, averaging 4-something, of total offense, so they do like to run it. But they're not just a run-only team, too. They will throw the ball and spread it out and do some different things. So, our defense has got to be ready. But they do pride themselves, I think, in stopping the run, defensively and running the ball offensively. So it is, similar to what we do, but I think it's, you got to, be good on third downs. Goes back to that. We're great at third downs defensively. They're good at third downs on offense. I think they're batting right at 48% on offense on third downs, but that's because they're in a lot of third and short, third and medium, situations. The thing I think that impresses you from our defense looking at their offense is they get positive yardage, on first and second down. They're able to. They very seldom, have, bad plays where they, have tackles for losses and sacks and things like that. They manage the game very good and find ways to move the sticks. And we got to continue defensively to be, great on third downs and get off the field and be very good there.
How do you defend, or should I say, rather than defend, but go after or prevent 9 and 11? Have you guys played against a group where you've got two dynamic defensive ends?
They're two really good players. I mean, probably the two best defensive ends we played against, and they're both equally good. Some people say that, one's better than the other. I think they're very similar to each other and complement each other well, and they kind of take away the credit from the inside guys. I think the inside guys defensively are good too, and I think their secondary linebackers are equally as good. I mean, they all tackle well and get off blocks well, and things we got to do offensively is execute, get a hat on hat, whether it be in protection or run game, and I think find ways to continue to move the chains, and they do a great job defensively of not giving up explosive plays. They get stuff on the ground when it gets out. It's hard to get behind them in coverage, so we got to take what they give us. We got to be able to move the chains and have long, sustained drives, and be penalty free from a pre-snap deal to a post-snap deal, and find ways to score when you get in the red zone. I mean, find ways to get the ball in the end zone when you get down there. It's going to be important too. So,
how much do you move the pocket, given their pinching?
Well, I mean, I think we can, you get a hat on hat, I think we're okay for as, protection-wise, getting the ball out and things like that. I mean, I think it goes back to, the matchup O-line-wise and D-line-wise and be able to block them. I don't think it's a deal where we have to change a lot of what we're doing. It's going to be a good matchup, though.
Did you watch the game much on Saturday, or did you just sort of wait to?
I did. I watched a good bit of it. It kind of got out of hand, right there at the end of the third quarter. I watched most of it. It was a good ball game, especially going at halftime. I mean, Sanford did hung in there, moved the ball, and, kind of let it get away from them, I think, in the second half there. But, like I said, two good football teams.
Were you sitting there, like, watching the Iron Bowl on the big screen and this one on the computer or anything like that?
Nah, there's so many, games on. You flipping back and forth, watch several different games. Main thing is you want to see who won. And we had, both opponents, from Sanford to Youngstown broke down pretty good last week. So, you didn't know which one was going to win. So you had a good idea about what they were. But you definitely wanted to watch that one for sure.
Coach, earlier you mentioned having your best crowd this season for UT Martin. How important is it to have a large, loud crowd when you do get to host these playoff games?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I think we're sitting right at second in attendance in the regular season, which is great. I think we were like third last year, so we moved up to second this year. And then in the playoffs, we led the nation in attendance. So I think we'll be able to do that again. I think our folks will show up Saturday. We'll have a great crowd. I think it's a huge advantage. We was looking around things. Yeah, you look at talking about looking at games and stuff like that. You flip the TV around and you watch some of these mid-majors play at the FBS level. We're higher in attendance in 24 FBS programs in the country. So our fan support is outstanding. And so when you come here and play, and these guys will tell you, it helps us so much. Far as just, creating that energy that you got to play with. Our guys love to play at home, and our crowd is loud. I mean, you go back to, 4 years ago, I think our crowd is so much louder than what it was even 4 years ago. We don't have fans that just, come and sit on their hands and just, spectating the game. They're getting into the game, they're cheering, they're hollering, and I think it goes back to our cheerleaders do a great job, and the Southerners do a great job too. So we got a good atmosphere, and I think that helps you when you're at home. And like I said, we're glad to be playing at home for sure. I think it's a distinct advantage.
All these other guys, Marlon, they've been through this before. This is your first time. Scout team last year. A little more exciting for you this week than it was this time last year?
Yes, sir. Last year, I just cheering on my teammate, just game by game, trying to help the offense getting better with Scout. But this year, I'm looking to make an impact on the game. We feel like they're going to run the ball, try to hit us in the mouth. But at the end of the day, we just have to play Jacksonville State defense, which is stop the run and create turnovers.
Josh, I notice you nodding your head at what Marlon's saying. I'm guessing you have great faith in what he does. Could you talk a little bit about him?
Oh, man. I don't want to boost his head up too much, but to be honest with you, once I found out, he was a freshman, defensive player is it freshman of the year? Yeah. When he got the award, I walked straight up to him and told him good job, but I also said, it's not over with yet. And just looking at his eyes, you can tell that, he's not satisfied. And that right there just shows, the humbleness that he has and, the hunger that he has. And I'm excited, especially for our defense. They was number one during the regular season, so there's no reason why they can't keep it up now. And it's on offensive side, we just got to come out and put up points. As long as we put up points, I have nothing but faith in our defense. So, like I said, I'm excited for what we're about to do.